is runoff election day, and this morning we have a look at the Republican runoff race for Washington County Judge.
Yeah, 5 News reporter Claire Everbach live this morning at Central United Methodist in Fayetteville at one of those voting sites. Claire, polls will open soon.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Tiffany. Well, Central United Methodist Church in Fayetteville is one of many polling locations open today. It's going to open in just about an hour at 7:30 and will stay open until 7:30 p.m. Now, in order to be eligible to vote in this election, voters either need to have voted Republican, nonpartisan, or have not voted at all in the March 3rd election. Here's a quick breakdown of what you need to know today. Voters will be deciding on the nominees for their parties in the general election in November. Key races to watch include the Republican runoff for Washington County Judge, sheriff runoffs in Madison and Johnson counties, and the race for the Republican nomination for Secretary of State. I spoke with incumbent Judge Patrick Deakins of Washington County and challenger Tim Shepard during early voting. Deakins says his priority would be to continue to build and modernize the workforce. Shepard says his priority would be to stabilize the organization of Washington County.
We've done a lot with our workforce. We never want to compete with private industry, but what we've done is we've given all of our employees a very forecastable and predictable wage raises that allows us to retain and attract great talent.
I believe it's an organization in crisis, so to be assessing what we do well, what we do poorly, setting our future priorities, making sure we have the staff in place, my administrative staff, etc.
Again, most polls open at 7:30 and stay open until 7:30 p.m., but it does depend on location. For a full list of voting centers, you can go to our website, 5newsonline.com. Live in Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Claire Everbach, 5 News.
Thanks for that, Claire. Well, to see where you can cast your ballot, just text the word VOTE to that number right there on your screen, 479-785-5000, and we'll bring you the latest results tonight right here on 5 News. Well, continuing coverage this morning, new charges have been filed against former Northwest Arkansas psychiatrist Brian Hyatt and 7 others.
Yeah, the new federal indictment alleging that Hyatt and staff members conspired for years to unlawfully hold patients inside the behavioral health unit at Northwest Medical.
Federal prosecutors say patients are kept through threats and the use of powerful medications. It was all done, they say, to build Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance programs at higher rates.
We just think this is a first step towards justice for the thousands of victims of this fraud scheme, frankly, and kidnapping scheme.
Well, 5 News has reached out to Northwest Medical Center for a response. We haven't heard back yet. Now, Hyatt and the other defendants will be in court on April 1st. Well, Baptist Health in Fort Smith announcing it will shut down its labor and delivery services next month. Hospital leaders say the decision was not made lightly and is meant to preserve the hospital's long-term sustainability. Baptist Health saying that the decision comes after a sharp drop in births from about 92 a month to around 20. We spoke with one doula who says the state is already facing a maternal health crisis.
Families that need access to obstetrics and OB care labor and delivery facilities are very far.
Well, Baptist Health says it is working with patients to avoid gaps in care. Now, Mercy, the only other major hospital in the area, telling us last week that they plan to host job fairs and expand recruiter office hours for those impacted.
Well, happening today, the Fort Smith Board of Directors will hold a special meeting to discuss 2 federal funding requests. One proposal would authorize the city administrator to ask Senator John Bozeman's office for up to $12 million. The money would support work on a water transmission line. The city is also considering a $20 million request to relocate utility lines along Rogers Avenue. The Arkansas Department of Transportation plans to make changes in the area in the coming years, including street widening. Also today, the Fayetteville City Council will again discuss a proposed increase to the city cap on paying out sewer damage claims. Earlier this year, a homeowner reported a claim above the $100,000 maximum. City Attorney Kit Williams says a company drilling for a gas line hit a sewer line that was not marked. At today's agenda session, the council will also discuss a rule change that could allow the farmers market to expand outside of the downtown square. If approved, the market season would also be extended and alcohol could be sold there. Well, the White House says diplomacy is still a possibility in Iran.
Now, this says hundreds of U.S. Special Operation Forces arrived there in the region. Iran showing it still has firepower in the 5th week of the war. The White House maintaining that U.S. strikes are crippling Iran's capabilities and that talks are progressing.
It's no surprise that we are seeing the remaining elements of the regime become increasingly eager to end the destruction and come to the negotiating table while they still can.
However, an intelligence expert paints a different picture of the war.
I think the Trump administration had underestimated what is happening.
Well, the White House says that President Trump continues to determine whether he'll put U.S. boots on the ground in Iran.
Well, TSA officers began receiving paychecks this week after an emergency order from President Trump. Some airports around the country saw much shorter wait times at security checkpoints on Monday. But as Bradley Blackburn reports, the partial government shutdown behind the problem remains unresolved.
At airports around the country, many flyers were pleasantly surprised Monday.
We're about to get in the line for security, but it looks really short. So smooth sailing. We'll have a nice breakfast before we get on the plane.
In some places where wait times for TSA screening stretched for hours in recent weeks, things seemed more normal. At airports like BWI and Baltimore, checkpoints that had been closed because of staffing shortages were back open as more TSA officers showed up for work.
It pays the rent. It pays March.
TSA workers tell CBS News they started receiving some back pay yesterday under an executive order, but a permanent fix to end the partial government shutdown and fund the Department of Homeland Security still requires Congress to reach a deal. Lawmakers are in a 2-week recess.
Democrats in Congress have voted 7 times against funding the Department of Homeland Security. Congress should come back and they should get it done.
All 100 of us voted before we left to fund everything in Homeland Security except ICE and CBP. Speaker Johnson has refused to take up and pass that bill.
For now, flyers are still showing up early just in case, including this bride trying to get to her wedding.
We got here pretty early with a few hours to spare, so we're just praying that it works out.
The Trump administration says ICE agents will remain at some airports this week to assist with security until they are fully up to speed. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.